Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin for the week, joined by Varun. Varun, gosh, it's hard to believe 6 weeks of the IPL are done, and there's still 1 week to go, followed by playoffs. It's a long season, right? It's exhausting this time.
Yeah, it is. It is exhausting, and I started to feel a little bit of IPL fatigue in the last couple of days. Um, so I haven't been able to stay up and watch as late as I usually would, and that always happens to me. However, usually I power through because my team is doing better and my fantasy is doing better. This time, both have been like the worst seasons in like 10 years or something, and
Yeah, it's
so
it's
it's been tougher for me than usual.
tough here
Especially
being.
we have to call out just fantasy at this time. DJ used a 2x when Jaiswal scored 98 and uh, Chahal took 4 wickets, and
And he
he was
had
like nowhere in the picture.
Jaiswal as captain, so 2x of captain made it 4x.
And 3x of Chahal.
Oh my
And
god.
like he's now pretending as if he had planned this whole thing, but I think he was like 17th before this. So yeah,
Yeah,
you can sense the frustration in my
yeah,
voice.
absolutely. If you're listening live or listening to us, send us in your fantasy tips. Varun, have you used your overall team 2x? I haven't
I
yet.
have not, and I have
Yeah.
my Indian 2x and my overall 2x. So DJ's not here, but DJ, you better watch out.
Yeah, and the rest of you guys, I hope you're enjoying the fantasy league season as much as we are. It's been fascinating, right? If I think about this week, and I've been trying to summarize each week of the IPL as we record this week felt like we made we made some progress. I think Gujarat is officially through, but maybe mathematically not technically through, but basically they're through, and especially not just because of the 16 points, but because of the big net run, right? Then we had Delhi officially finally get disqualified. Like, it's painful, and I hate saying that as a Delhi fan, but it was inevitable. It had to
No, but
happen. At
I'm
least,
actually happy
yeah,
because
at
I was
least
getting all these
England.
messages saying you're not out yet. You could potentially do
Yep.
it, and I'm just like, no, we can't
So at
now.
least at least that's done. And yet, Varun, in a 10-team IPL, you still have 8 teams basically fighting for those remaining 3 spots, which is actually just crazy to think about, right? Every team has played 12 or 13 games except Hyderabad, who has 11 at the time of recording. And the fact that 8 teams are still fighting for 3 spots is crazy, or does it just happen every year?
I mean, I think it does happen a lot, but usually you're like, we've got 3 teams fighting for 1 spot or 4 teams for 2 spot. This year, right, there are 8 teams, and it just feels like in the last 4 days, every result that had to happen for the table to remain open has happened. Don't read more than what I'm saying into that. I'm just literally just saying Punjab had to win, RR had to lose, CSK had to lose, LSG had to win. These were the criteria at the start of like Thursday morning, and we're sitting here on a Sunday night, Monday morning, and that's exactly what has happened. So it's been odd, but hey, it just means that this last week is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think it's just really interesting because although you can look at the bottom of the table and say, it doesn't look super likely that the Hyderabad team, who are in second last place or ninth place, will qualify. Mathematically, they're still alive. So, Varun, how about we talk about the points table, right? From the bottom up, Delhi Capitals, 8 points from 12 games, just not enough. They're out. Hyderabad have 8 from 11. So, if I'm not mistaken, they need to win every single game from here on and hope for, you'd said before 16 points looks like it may be enough. The maximum mathematically Hyderabad can get is 14, but they could qualify, but they need every other result to go their way. Then you look at Punjab, KKR, Rajasthan, and RCB, all tied on 12 points. We'll talk about it, but a big win for RCB today, give them a big jump in net run rate. And then you have Lucknow at 13, Mumbai 14, CSK at 15. So, Varun, let me first ask you: Do you think we're going to see something crazy, or does it seem like the top four, Gujarat, Chennai, Mumbai, LSG, are the ones who are going to make it through?
My gut feel is that the fourth slot is going to be a bit open. I think you mentioned this. Gujarat is through. I think CSK faltered in their last game against KKR, but at 15 points, you almost feel like that washout game is an advantage versus a disadvantage. And I had thought
Mhm.
this even earlier in past IPLs when we've seen that. So it's been an interesting one where I think CSK will also edge through because, like you said, an SRH, a KKR. Rajasthan, the best they can get is 14. Even if all the results go their way, they get 14, CSK still qualifies. I think Mumbai is probably going to falter in the next game because it's in Lucknow and that pitch doesn't suit them, but their last game is in Mumbai. So that just keep in mind that factor. And similarly, RCB's last game is also in Bangalore. So a lot of home versus away venue stuff will come in. But if you ask my gut feel now, it feels like Gujarat, Chennai, Mumbai, and the last one is open.
Very interesting. So Lucknow is going to be interesting to see. Right, Varun. So then, as we've been doing, let's kind of run through the week. There was some kind of very unexciting sort of game, so we won't talk about them in too much detail. But we'll run through the week instead of maybe doing it by the points table. Let's do it by kind of the games that happened. Right. So the first game of the week was KKR versus Punjab. Very very important win for KKR. KKR now, if I'm not mistaken, have won three of their last four. So very very important game for them, and they ended up coming up solid, right? So KKR Punjab batted first, made 179, and first match in a while I think we saw under Russell heroics. I think the only thing I'm going to ask you about in this game for KKR is Nitish Rana. Actually, made a great half century. He's done it. He did it again this morning at the time we're recording this. Just I've been critical of him as a captain a little when his season started, but it feels like he's kind of grown into that role, and his batting has shown up too. Right? Thoughts on him as a skipper this year?
Yeah, I think when we talk about KKR's next game, it's going to be the fact that he opened the bowling is was made me doubt his skill as a skipper. So we'll talk
Fair.
about that later. But
Yeah.
generally, you can't fault him, man. He's been doing decent. The team has blown hot and cold. Like they've won 3 out of 4, and then they've lost 3 out of 4. That's what their season has been like in a row. So you can't. I wouldn't necessarily fault him. But let's talk about the thing you talked about, right? Which is Russell. So I think it was great that he finally came good, striking at almost 190 ish in this match. And what I like is that he's found a partner in Rinku Singh,
Yeah.
right? In a chase, he actually came out and said, so it's interesting. One is he has a lot of belief in Rinku Singh, and that will allow him to play more freely because otherwise there's a lot of pressure on him. The second is Rinku Singh is also like believes in himself because he went to Russell and said, "If you miss the ball, right, do we take a single?" And Russell said, "Yeah, hell yeah, you take a single because
Yeah.
you're on the other end."
Of course,
So
which is amazing.
it's been good. It's been good for KKR. I think they've finally uh, got their balance right, and I think KKR just takes too long to get their balance right, like a few other teams as well. And it's happened multiple years. But openers look set, your Venki Iyer and Nitish Rana look set, and your finishers look set. So actually, momentum is in their favor right now.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, we'll talk about the next loss they had and then the win, but let's keep going down the week because the next game of the week, which I think was on Tuesday, showed us the only team I think to successfully chase 200 or more three times in an IPL in history. And we talked about this last week. It felt like we said Mumbai's bowling just seems so weak, and yet their batting seems like it's come so good that they're chasing down these massive totals. I mean, RCB, Kohli had a failure, but Faf did well, Maxwell did well, made 196, 199, and chasing 200. Mumbai did it with 21 balls to spare. I mean, Ishan Kishan looked good at the top. Nehal Badera seems like he's cementing his number 5 spot, made a nice 50, but 83 runs in just 35 balls. I mean, Surya Kumar Yadav came into this IPL on the back of 3 or 4 very, very bad in Team India performances and started a little bit weak. And then he's grown. Now, again, we're back to saying, is he better than A.V. de Villiers? Or like, what a season he's having, right? And I'm not even talking about the century, and I'm just talking about 83.
Yeah, it's so. The thing is, when he bats and you watch him, it's beautiful, right? So when you start thinking he's hit 83, then 100, then something else, it all just looks merged because you're just seeing this guy in blue, whether it's for India or Mumbai, playing these ridiculous shots and clearing the boundary every time. So it comes down to, man, he had a very, very bad run, okay, where all of us were a little bit worried, but we all believed in him. Not one of us said, drop him, he should be this. We all believed in him, but we were all internally a bit worried because when a Sky type guy at his age starts going into this form slump, can he get out of it, right? Like with so much young talent around. But has he got out of it and how, man? He's just been incredible. When you think about it, You said what, 21 balls to spare? That means they could have realistically got to 240 plus. I don't think that's I don't think that's out of the question. So it was a complete hammering. I think Ishan Kishan has supported well by getting some runs quickly at the top. And then Sky has just been promoted to three, man. And think about it, Cameron Green, like a lot of us were picking him in the fantasy teams, he's just become irrelevant.
He batted at 7 or something
Yeah.
the last game.
Yeah, he's just become completely irrelevant in this. And again, I just want to mention one thing, which is when you play at home in Mumbai and in Bangalore, you know the grounds, you know the pitches are going to suit your game, and you have to take advantage of it. I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting. You're talking about Sky, right? And the comeback. He is now sitting fourth on the orange cap list. He's behind by some distance. But what I think is interesting is Faf du Plessis, who's in first, striking at 154. Excellent strike rate for an opener. Yashasvi Jaiswal striking at 166. Again, excellent strike rate for an opener. Nobody else in the top 11 batters strikes at above 146. Okay, so those two are 154, 166. Sky has now made 479 runs, striking at 191 almost. I mean, it is above and beyond your ability to chase down 200 consistently. He just backs himself. And again, I recognize we are the critical when he made 3 ducks in a row or whatever it was, but I can't help but think, I've said this before, I keep saying it again, can't help but think we confused this absolutely magnificent talent by saying come play test cricket, come play ODI cricket, even maybe for India. Like, you are just an icon of the T20 game, and we should just let you focus. He's not 21 trying to play the next 20 years. I think he's 28, 29 years old, right? Like, give him, or maybe he's older. Just
Yeah,
give
in fact,
him,
I think he's older.
he is 32, excuse me. So
Yeah.
give him, just let him play T20 cricket at the level he can play, because it is just a joy to watch. And I'm not a Mumbai fan, but it's just a joy. Right. So Mumbai ended up picking up a big victory there, chasing it 200 down with 21 balls to spare. And then Delhi traveled to Chepak in Chennai. Or this is a little painful to talk about, but also really quite kind of unexciting. So we don't have to say much. Chennai kind of scrambled their way to 167. A nice, most guys making 20 odds. Dhoni came out, hit a couple sixes, which was always exciting. I think he batted at 8 in this game. So I've already talked to DJ about what is Dhoni's batting position strategy. Does he just basically want to come in with 3 to 5 balls?
I
Maybe
think so. I
up to
think
10?
that's it. I think he doesn't want to run. I think that's made it. He's made it quite clear when we watch him on the pitch. It's also quite clear, and I almost think that he's going to get pissed if you give him more balls to bat.
I mean, imagine Jadeja in the match got out and the crowd went berserk.
And
I
not
mean,
once. This happens multiple times.
it's ridiculous. Like, it
And
happens
Jay
a
just
little.
said this also. He's like, somebody said, "Why don't you bat higher up the order?" They're like, they're just going to scream louder for me to get out.
That's amazing. It happens a little with Kohli when the openers get out in an ODI format or the second wicket falls in a test. The crowds get excited because they get to see Virat, but this is a different level. But yeah, I mean, Varun chasing 167 at Chepak, which should not be that much, right? You then have Pathirana pick up 3, Chahar pick up 2, Warner gets out for duck, Mitchell Marsh gets out for 5. I mean, nothing to say, right? Should we just move on?
I mean, the thing is, basically, I want to say, I want to give a lot of credit to Delhi's bowlers, right? Apart from a Dhoni onslaught and basically, apart from a Dhoni onslaught, they did a good job. The Delhi bowlers are not bowling badly. A few guys are going at 11, right? In this game, but Mitchell Marsh went at 6, Kuldeep Yadav at 7, Akshar Patel at 6.8, and Khalil Ahmed at 8. That is a very good bowling lineup. I don't think too many teams can boast of that kind of a bowling performance.
Yeah.
But then when you get Warner out on 0, like, what has happened to Warner? Does he just not care anymore? Like, he's just not hit any runs for the last 8 games or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
he had one, I think he had 1 half century, and it's just tough. I just don't think he has the physical ability he used to, and then you back that with not having the team kind of support him, and then being thrusted into captaincy when we all know that this was designed to be Rishabh Pant's side. Rishabh Pant's the marketing face of this, but Warner got thrusted in, and it's tough. I have to imagine Warner doesn't have a lot of years of IPL cricket left, which is crazy to say because he's a captain of a franchise this year, right? So
Yeah. I don't know. And just lastly on Delhi, because I don't think we should discuss Delhi at all anymore. Um, Marsh, whether he's getting run out or getting caught or whatever it is, you got to step up, man, because you've not hit any runs in this tournament.
Yeah.
And when you hit the sixes and all, you look great. But you have to take some ownership and step up. You're playing more as a bowler in this team than a batsman as of this
He
moment.
basically is. Yeah.
Okay, Manish Pandey sucks. He's just the
You were
worst.
just waiting for
The
that.
worst. Yeah, like I know you wanted to pass on this, but I cannot. I just cannot.
No,
He
I'm here
is
for it,
the
man.
only guy. Like he went at 90 strike rate in a game where the pressure was building.
Yeah, but he made the second most number of runs in the match, which is the worst, which is just
It's
very
no
telling.
Manish. I would rather have lost by 27 more runs. I would have rather lost by 54 in that game and had Manish out on zero and not play. And Riley Rosso, I think, is another guy who is a number three batsman on quicker pitches. And so he's having to now bat at like five
Mhm.
on slow wickets. And he's hitting 35 off 35 balls. But honestly, anyone can do that. Like any Tom, Dick, or Harry
Yeah.
could do that. So it's just not working. Something is just not working.
Although DJ was pretty offended when we said we think he would average about 20 or so in IPL if he played. We said, no, we said, what did we say? I think we said you and I would average maybe six. And he
Yeah.
said he might get 18 or 20. He said, I think I could make 35. So listen, here's the thing.
35
Man,
with a 4x, right? Like, so that's
that's
essentially
it.
nine. Yeah.
Manish Pandey is Delhi's fourth highest run scorer.
No, I don't want to hear it. Like, that's just shows you
No,
how
but I'm
terrible the
saying that
team is.
like the fourth highest run scorer for Delhi has made 160 runs in 12 matches, averaging 17. I mean, how can you possibly? You just
How
cannot
much
put
was his average? 17.
17.78.
Yeah,
Mitchell
so
Marsh is
apparently,
averaging
if
14.
you.
Aman Khan is
So,
averaging 14. Riley Rosso averaging 21. Lalit Yadav averaging 15. Sarfar, gosh, Prithvi Shaw averaging 7.83. It's not that bad anymore for Delhi Capitals when you start.
I mean, where do you go next year? That's the biggest issue. But apparently, if you took Akshar out of this team, we would have been like 15th out of 10 teams on a points table.
I mean, that would have been amazing to see. Yeah, I mean, Akshar is averaging 29.78 at a strike rate of 137, and we keep batting him at seven, right? So,
Yeah.
anyway,
So, yeah. Anyway, let's
it's too
move
much.
on.
Let's move on. Thank you very much. Very relieved. Thursday's game. So we talked a little bit about KKR and Rana, and so uh, the KKR team comes out. How much did they make? 149 for eight. Good knock by Venki Iyer. Nobody else really showed up. And the Rajasthan team had lost three in a row, I think, at this point. And out they walk. And the first over, Nitish Rana as skipper, which I guess you have to give some credit for, takes the ball himself. Right now, in hindsight, very easy to look back and say he got 26. He got hit for 26. Jaiswal just in outstanding form. But yeah, thoughts on that? It doesn't seem like you felt you were very impressed by that decision.
I wasn't, man, because obviously it's in hindsight, right? So now if he picked up Jaiswal's wicket, we would have said, great, what a move and stuff. But in hindsight, when you've got a Sunil Narayan, a Suyash, and a Varun Chakravarti, why wouldn't you just bowl with them uh, when this guy's in the form of his life? And it kind of reminds me of that one game where Shivam Mavi bowled to Prithvi Shaw and he hit five boundaries. And the game was over in that moment. And so the minute you started bowling the over 1.1, the game was done.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
game was badly finished because you have put on only 149 on the board against a Rajasthan batting attack. So it's, I think that's where they lost the game. Uh, they You have to give more credit to Jaiswal. So it's not about just Nitish Rana.
sure.
His knock is, I have never seen a knock like that. Like 26 of the first over usually goes into a quick, he's got the momentum and then he gets out.
Yeah.
Butler got run out, and
Can we
Butler
talk
was,
about that really quick? Where
yeah,
Butler basically sacrificed himself. Butler, I think, was ball watching. Jaiswal hits it and sets off, and Butler took off. Now, think about the fact that one of the best T20 players in the world right now, maybe of all time, honestly, he's sacrificing himself for an uncapped Indian player. But that's how good Jaiswal has been this round, and it was the right call. Jaiswal won them the game in 13 overs.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm trying to remember. Did he actually sacrifice? So sometimes in that heat of the moment, you just go and then
Yeah,
you don't know what to do, right?
yeah,
And so sometimes I think it's not so much. Yeah, I wonder if it's about who's at the other end or about this is natural instinct. But yes, Butler did walk off. Butler was very pissed. He hit the boundary ropes, and he's been, I think, fined or pulled up for that as well. And he's just not having a good tournament. Like, I had put him
mm,
as my orange cap holder. He's just not having a good tournament. He's getting out on duck after duck after duck. And so when you think about it, Jaiswal is the guy who's saving the day. Now, he hit what, 50 of 13 balls after that? And sometimes the best way
mm.
to have a
Yep.
senior partner who's been run out not stay angry at you is to hit the fastest IPL 50, because then
Fastest
Butler's
in
going to be sitting there
history.
thinking, all right, it's okay. It's okay. He
Yeah.
won us the game.
Man, the one record strike rate related that KL Rahul held is gone. It's been obliterated.
Thank
Yashasvi
God.
Jaiswal got it. I mean, who would have thought the fastest 50 was deserved to be tied between KL Rahul and Pat Cummins, who's been bowling for, been in as a bowler for most of his career. But yeah, not a lot else to say. Samson showed up well. Got to give him credit too, right? Like, nice to see him showing up and backing his partner. 98 and 48 just feels disappointing that neither got to a milestone.
Yeah.
Um, but a good win for Rajasthan. So at this point, going into the weekend, Friday and then Saturday, Sunday double headers, uh, pretty even week, right? Rajasthan gets a little bit of momentum back. Punjab loses a little bit of momentum they have. Uh, CSK wins against Delhi, which was not surprising to anybody. Mumbai goes on to play Gujarat. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, talk about Mumbai against the table toppers and last year's champions, the Gujarat Titans. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Friday of the weekend is coming up. Surya Kumar Yadav has just hit an unbelievable 83 in the previous game, and he comes to face the Gujarat Titans team. And Mumbai bats first this time. They've had a good record chasing at home at the Wankhede, batting first. Rohit batted okay, Kishan batted okay, Vishnu Vinod hit some really nice shots actually, which was a surprise because I almost picked him as my uncapped player, but I didn't because who knows what's happening with this Mumbai batting order. So I didn't pick him.
Yeah. Nobody's got. Where's Tilak, by the way?
Yeah, like what happened to Tilak in that game, I have no idea. But
Vishnu Vinod is a great name for Danny Morrison.
double V's
Yeah, I'm so
is
surprised
great.
he didn't say it already, but yeah.
Doesn't double V look like W though?
Yeah, it's W.
W. Perfect. Great quality conversation. Let's talk about Sky again, right? 103 of 49. Barrett has made a magnificent century. I mean, you just last ball he needed a six. Last ball of the innings he needed a six to get it there, and he just was like, "Yeah, I got this, man. I'm good." I mean, he didn't need a six, but he hit a six to get there. Just, I mean, you run out of superlatives, right? Is there anything
Yeah,
more to talk about?
there's nothing to say. Like I said, it just, I'm visualizing his shots right now. Apparently, the only thing to talk about is that one shot of Mohammad Shami, which even Sachin Tendulkar posted about, where he just kind of last second twisted his wrist and opened the face of the bat, and it
Yeah,
went for six above third man.
yeah,
Uh, Incredible, man. He scores in places where you never even thought that runs uh, could be got from there. So it's amazing. He just carries this team on his own, and like I said, your overseas players in Mumbai are not contributing at all. Tim David and Green made a total of 8 runs of 6 balls in an innings where they hit 218 for no fault of their own, except this Indian batting lineup is just very strong.
yeah. So, I mean, full credit to Sky. The other thing I have to talk about is your team concedes 219, of which one bowler picks up four of the five wickets and gives only 30 runs. So you're four for 30. And then chasing, you're at 103 for eight. And you managed to get to 191 because the man who walked in at number eight makes 79 off 32 balls. And of course, you haven't figured out yet. I'm talking about Rashid Khan, who's had arguably a bit of a lackluster season by his standards, and then just shows up against Mumbai, picks up four wickets, makes 79. I mean, if not for Sky's heroics, Gujarat would have gotten close this game.
Yeah,
But
so his batting has been amazing in that game,
yeah.
but I just have to correct you on one thing. I looked at a stat yesterday that said Rashid Khan has got the most fantasy points this season.
Oh, see, it feels like he hasn't had a
It
good
feels
season.
like he hasn't, but This season is one of the few seasons where he's
Mm,
actually picked up a lot more wickets. Now he's
yeah,
gone for a lot more runs as a result of that.
yeah,
But I think in T20 cricket, he realized it's more important to pick up the wickets. Something has changed, and I don't know if you're able to look at his last few
yeah.
years' wickets versus this year.
I mean, I'm not looking at the wickets, but I'm seeing that he's now at the moment. So your stat was probably right at some point, but
As
he's
of
just
yesterday, yeah,
second. He's just second to Jaiswal.
yeah,
But second most point. If you had asked me where on the
yeah,
top 10 list of fantasy point scorer, I said he was. I would not. I wouldn't have been nowhere
yeah,
close.
exactly.
That is a
So
mind-boggling stat.
it is, and that's what I'm saying. It's just, and keep in mind the 79 is a one-off, right? So it's his
Yeah,
bowling that has got him a lot of those points. Yes,
yeah,
when you hit 80 at a strike rate of 246, you're I mean, if he's got 1,000 points, 200 is going to come from that one innings, plus the man of the match, etc. But all I'm saying is, I think his bowling has been solid this year as well. And I didn't get to watch that innings, unfortunately, but as I was following it, I was just like, there was a point in which you were thinking, could they actually win this? Because they were only 25, 30 runs off by, like, I don't know, it was just shocking.
yeah. I mean, outstanding. Just you never think your number eight player. I mean, I guess Dhoni bats at eight now, but you never think your number eight player is gonna get you close to winning the game. But outstanding, and I think that's the kind of stuff that in a long tournament where net run rate comes to matter, that's the kind of stuff that gives a team like Gujarat the edge. They don't lose by big margins. But that took us into the weekend where there were a couple of losses by big margins. Let me talk about the first game, the early game on Saturday morning. You know, so Hyderabad batted first, made 182, and Lucknow made the chase look easy. But Lucknow had Kyle Mayers and Quinton de Kock opening, Stoinis at four, Puran at five. Krunal has batted at the top of the order for a little bit for them. Sunday, out of kind of nowhere in the IPL this year, a new number three walks out for Lucknow, and his name is Prerak Mankad, and he makes. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that, Varun. I got to watch a little bit because the second innings in the early match, but it was some of the best, like the most fluid kind of stroke making I've seen in a while. And to be honest, I've heard of his name through the domestic circuit. I know he played briefly for Bangalore, but didn't get much game time. And like, just where are these young kids coming from? How great is it to see?
Yeah, and I've heard his name too, but in a very different context. It's a very negative context in
Actually,
which his name is usually mentioned.
I sent a tweet about that saying, "What does it seem like they can get him out? Should they try a bowler's run
One,
out against him? And how would that?" But he's actually
yeah.
29 now that I mentioned it. He's
So
played for
then he's,
Saurashtra for a while, but
yeah, so
yeah,
he's got
just
that experience. And again, man, sometimes you think about it, in a Delhi, this guy would have been number three, right, in every match. But in a Lucknow, he's playing only because KL Rahul is not available. So sometimes it's just unfortunate for you because, actually, let's be clear, he's playing because KL Rahul is not available and Deepak Huda is badly out of form.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right. Deepak Huda should have been the automatic choice for
yeah,
this
so
team.
so he got a chance and he's done very well. And you're right, his stroke making was amazing. And I mean, 182 for six Sunrisers, I think they did a decent job. Like, I have to call out Klassen, man. I think I'm just very impressed with him. The IPL misses great middle order batsmen, and I think
Mm,
Klassen has done that consistently,
yeah.
along with players like a Rinku Singh this year. And but then what happened, man, in that game? It's like everything was going so well for Sunrisers. You
Mm.
got Mayers and De Kock out. Stoinis started getting that momentum, and then you bowled this Abhishek Sharma over. And that over,
Nicholas Puran. Yeah, I
and
forgot
no,
about
that
that.
over was six by Stoinis, and then you get the wicket of Stoinis.
Yeah,
And so you're thinking, all right, you've given 12 runs, but you've got the big man. Okay,
yeah.
it's worth it. It was a great call. And then Puran comes in and the over finishes 6-6-6. 30 runs off that over. And the
And I think
game
there
is
was a
just
wide, so I think it was 31 actually. Yeah, there was a
31.
wide
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Yeah,
So 31 off that over. And the game again in that one over has changed and is completely done.
it's
So
just yeah.
I'm to the point where Puran has now hit 44 of 13, overshadowed even Prerak Mankad. His strike rate was
What was
340.
the Basra? Is the question.
Pats was like 400, is like off the charts.
It's ridiculous.
Just phenomenal. And like I said, it was a must-win game for LSG. So LSG is actually looking like they're in a good position. They do play their next game against Mumbai Indians in Lucknow and their last game in Kolkata. Now, the catch for me is that I think they're one of the only home teams who have never really played at home before, like 3 weeks
this season.
ago,
Yeah.
and they have just not built a team for this Lucknow pitch. So I think the pitch could be the biggest kind of hurdle to getting into the top four.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, a full credit to Puran. Like that kind of finishing is outstanding. Yeah, disappointing for Abhishek Sharma, but just outstanding to see that finishing, and very exciting to see Perak Mankad. But I'm going to go to the next game, and we have agreed we're not going to talk about Delhi much but I want to talk about again young Indian talent, right? And I say young, and I should double check this guy's age, but. Punjab comes out, makes 167. I mean, if you're Delhi, you see Dhawan go for 7 in the second over. You see Livingston go for 4 a couple overs later. You see the Jitesh, who's been outstanding, go for 5. Sam Curran doesn't really make much, 20 odd. Harpreet Brar, Shah Rukh Khan made single digit each. Sikandar Raza not out on 11. That is a great scorecard. But you're missing one guy. One guy made over 2/3 of this team's runs, or almost 2/3 of the team's runs. And this is Prabh Simran Singh, 22 years old. Has shown potential for a while, but to come out and make a century on what Delhi has been a tough wicket this year and showed from the Capitals' batting return that it was a tough wicket. Just a magnificent knock. I mean, I was upset as a Delhi fan, but I couldn't actually be upset because it was so good.
Yeah, the knock was fantastic. In fact, I was waiting for Warner to come out with his reels on Tujhme Prab Dikhta Hai and stuff
Nice.
like
There
that.
you go.
But
How long have you been planning that? Like, should we just end the
for a
episode there?
while, But it look, 167 is not that big a total. You would assume that at Delhi, if one or two guys get going, just
Well, a
will
Delhi who
knock it
makes
down. And
69 in 6.1 overs.
yeah, and got all whatever 136, and they batted the full 20. So it's not like they even got all out.
Yep.
Again, Mitch Marsh, Riley Rosso, Akshar, Manish Pandey, 3-5-1-0. I went to sleep, by the way, at that 6.1 over mark that you talked about,
Yeah, you're like, chalo,
saying,
we won this game. We're
"Heck,
good.
this is cool, this is done." But again, Harpreet Brar, 4 wickets. Two uncapped guys for Punjab have won them the game.
I
And
almost picked Prab Simran and I went with Harpreet, and I was so angry I didn't pick Prab Simran, but 4 wickets is close to a century in fantasy points, so it's
so,
fine.
yeah, so you got, yeah, you're having a better season. I almost picked Prab Simran. Then I said I almost picked Harpreet Brar. And then I went for Jitesh at the
Oh
end of
gosh,
it.
I thought you were going to say
So,
Aman Khan or somebody. At least.
yeah, so that's both were equal. I lost out on like 100, whatever, 150, 200 fantasy points because of that. But let's not talk about Delhi, man. They don't deserve it at all.
Yeah, let's get to Sunday. 2 games to talk about before we wrap up this episode and talk about the fantasy league. The first one is shocking. Like it is shocking when I think about it. RCB versus Rajasthan at the Jit Stadium in Jaipur. Very, very standard playbook for the RCB. Kohli gets started at about a run a ball. Some matches he does well, some he fell short. This one he fell short. Faf made a 50 again. Maxwell made a 50 again. Nobody really showed up. A nice little cameo at the end by Anuj Rawat, who made 29 of 11, and you thought, okay, this might be the difference in a close game. But that was not to be. Rajasthan walks out. Jaiswal, the hero so far, second in the list for Orange Cap, duck. Butler, duck. Samson, single digit score. Padikkal walks in at 5 as an impact sub, single digit score. Joe Root, who I've picked for 2 games in a row, hoping he'll bat, hasn't batted in the last 2 games, comes out, makes 10. Barring a little bit of heroics from Shimron Hetmeyer, we've talked about RCB's 49 all out and the ghosts that follow them. But for them to now dismiss a team that was quite a lot higher than them on the table for 59 all out, I had the points table open before it finished, and then I refreshed, and the jump was so significant because of the magnitude of this victory.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody predicted this, right?
No, nobody predicted this, and you have to believe that even when Jaiswal has an off day, you have enough batting to support this. And I think RR has understood that they are going to have a couple of games like this, and that's why they brought a Joe Root in. Because otherwise, you've still got Samson, you've still got Padikkal. I can't remember who's playing instead of Joe Root now. That's how long the IPL is that I can't
I think they
remember
were playing
who.
one of their overseas bowlers.
Well, maybe one of the overseas, but who was batting in that position? I don't know. But you brought in Root to go after a chase that requires 8 runs per over. That 6 runs per over, basically what I'm trying to say is 8 runs per over is the new 6 runs per over, right? So
Yeah.
even a Joe Root in the middle order has to go at 8 per over, and I think that's par for the course. So they strategically did the right thing, but it all just fell apart, man. And suddenly a 170 score as the wickets kept falling looked like a 200, 220, 240, to the point where you were just like, let's hit because otherwise we're going to not even get this 59. So disaster, complete disaster. Like I did not expect this at all. Like the words some of my friends were using were just shocking. Like nobody had any idea of this. And between this and the next game we're going to talk about, Ashwin, is it puts into context that the pitch is only determined or as a factor once both teams have batted on it. So you can make fun of anyone for batting at a run of ball, and we do it, and it's not acceptable. But when you see the second team bat, you then realize that getting to 150, 160, 170 is more important than trying to go for a 200 score and getting all out.
Yeah, I mean, 59, I mean, nobody in their wildest imagination could have said they expected this to happen to Rajasthan. I mean, disappointing. But yeah, that dropped them from, I think they were fourth, fifth on the table this morning, down to seventh, but by quite a margin. And that is a pretty big hurt to them with only one match to go against the Punjab side. So it's going to be a do or die game for Rajasthan. Last game, Sunday second match. We're going to talk about this quickly. CSK made 144, right? I think that's kind of what you're talking to. Conway batted at about a run a ball. Ruturaj just better than that. Shivam Dubey, who was my prediction for the X Factor, which I thought was my wildest prediction. Just seems
But
solid as
he's been
fuck.
amazing, dude. Like I think he's been one of the best for me. So again, like we talked about middle order batsmen for India moving forward. This guy has to be on the cards.
Yeah, yeah. But then DJ at some point tweeted that this is Rinku Singh's world and we're just living in it. I mean, chasing 145, you got 33 for 3 with Gurbaz, Roy, two of your overseas players, and Venkatesh Iyer out. And you mentioned earlier, Rana at 5, Rinku at 6 at this kind of finisher slash, or Rana at 4, excuse me, Rinku at 5 at this middle order slash finisher. I mean, Rinku Singh, who's hit 5 sixes in an over, played a played a beautifully controlled innings. Just batted at a run of ball, got himself there, then accelerated when he needed to. Finished his innings at strike rate of 125. Just ended up getting run out with a couple balls to spare, but just great. I mean, the maturity of Rana and Rinku to get them home across against a CSK team, right? Like who
In
Dhoni
CSK,
in Chennai, who, with Dhoni at the helm. I mean, full credit to them, right?
I mean, again, people say you got to add like 30 runs to a CSK total for Dhoni's captaincy.
That is crazy, and they just
Yeah,
made
so
they got there, yeah.
I was shocked, man. When I woke up and I saw Rinku again, I'm just like, this guy is like, he's everything. He's just everything that we could have asked for.
Yeah. So Varun, just to wrap really quick, CSK has to play Delhi. Seems like pretty safe points, which means they'll qualify. But if Delhi shows up and plays spoil sport, it could be really interesting, right? The Mumbai team has to play Lucknow and Hyderabad, like you said. Again, feels pretty safe, manageable. Lucknow has to play Mumbai once and KKR, so they'll back themselves, I think, to win one of those games. I'm really excited here about the RCB, who's sitting in fifth, and they play Hyderabad as one, and then they play Gujarat team that may by then have qualified. So you never know. Sometimes that last match of the season, the 70th match, if Gujarat's already through and already guaranteed at first or second spot, they may not need to show up as big. They might make some subs, give some guys a break, and that itself can give RCB a pretty good shot. And then I think the last thing I'll say is RR versus Punjab. I think is going to be in effect a knockout. I mean, whoever loses is out, but whoever wins needs to win really big to have a shot, right? So it's an interesting week coming up. Lots of fun matches.
Yeah, lots of fun matches. Like I said, the pitches, the teams, the performances, everything is going to happen this week. And the next time we record, we're going to be talking about the playoffs and the top four.
Yeah, and the fact that Delhi Capitals are not going to be there, but that's okay. It's a rebuilding season. Varun, let me quickly wrap up this week's episode. We're talking about Fantasy League. I don't think you're officially still in the Edges and Sledges Fan League, so that's great. You make my job really easy. I have to go check your score separately,
I
and
mean, you
Matt do
shouldn't
something.
just. I'm planning to leave whichever. I'm planning to leave the leagues that I am part of because it's been so disappointing. So I'd rather you not
Yeah.
hurt my credibility by talking about my fantasy.
So I've been top eight. I had a bad weekend, unfortunately. Rajasthan, picked Rahane, excuse me, and just bad luck for me this weekend. Still 13th, so I'm okay. DJ, after all his use of the boosters and stuff, is now up to 20th. So a good, nice surge. Varun, if I'm doing my math right, I think you're somewhere in the 56, 57th range. So middle of the table, but somewhere, some room with boosters. Use your boosters wisely is our fantasy tip. Our top three, I think, for the second week in a row, Kansan is in first place, 20,358 points. So great performance so far. Thurup Golan, who's been near the top for a while now, is in second. And Blockbuster RRR Boys is also in third place, also been up top there. I don't normally give a shout out to fourth, but I'm going to just because the team name is fun. Kalaiyon ka behtareen upyog, which I
Wow.
assume if you're watching the Hindi commentary, they say about Sky a lot, but in fourth place. So hopefully you make it to top three because that would just be fun to have to say on the air. Whew, Varun, that brings us to a wrap. I always try to keep us a little shorter, but we went long just because there's so many good games to talk about. Looking forward to next week. Any final thoughts? Any predictions on upsets, major upsets? Something going to be interesting that happens?
I can't predict what's going to happen, but there will be something shocking. Let's leave it at that. Like either an RCB or a Punjab or something is going to happen that is going to be shocking.
You heard it here first, a non-committal prediction, but the absolute perfect kind of hedge to say whatever happens, it'll be shocking. That brings us to a wrap. Thank you to all of us who joined us. Sorry for the technical issues early on. Hopefully nobody had confusion with the link. Thanks for joining live. You can message us at One Tip One Hand on all the socials as always, and we'll be back next week once we know our four playoff teams to talk about the run into the finals. And just like that, Varun, we're going to be at the World Test Championship final and talking about that. So it's never a dull moment with Indian cricket. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. We will see you next week.